Chosen one, heaven has paused for you. The noise of the world has dimmed not by accident, but by divine orchestration. Every scroll you've scrolled, every thought that flickered through your mind, has led to this sacred intersection. God has interrupted your day, your rhythm, your distractions, to whisper this: you were never forgotten. You were seen when no one else saw you. You were preserved for this exact moment. Because the reunion between you and heaven cannot be stopped. There are no coincidences here. There are only divine appointments, written in the unseen realm long before you were born. You have walked through storms that would have drowned others, carried burdens that were too heavy for the ordinary soul, but you are not ordinary. You are chosen. You are marked by eternity. And right now, the Spirit of God breathes over your life and says, "Be still and know that I am God." None. The ancient writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 46, verse 10, declare, "Be still and know that I am God." That is not a suggestion. It is a command, a divine pause. Heaven is asking you to stop striving, stop running, stop doubting. You don't need to force what has already been ordained. You simply need to receive. There is a divine rhythm to this moment, a silence that is louder than thunder. God is not distant. He is hovering over your spirit, aligning your heart with His heartbeat. You have been through a season where nothing made sense. Doors closed. People left. Dreams seemed to dissolve in your hands. But every unanswered prayer was not rejection, it was redirection. You were being prepared for the great reunion, the moment when heaven reclaims what belongs to it. That's you, chosen one. You are heaven's property. You may not realize it, but your life has been under surveillance from above. Angels have stood guard at your side through nights of tears and mornings of silence. Every time the enemy tried to break you, heaven recorded your endurance. Every tear was counted. Every prayer stored in golden bowls. And now the time of release has come. This is why the world has felt heavy lately, because spiritual weight presses hardest right before breakthrough. The divine pause you feel is not emptiness. It is God's breath inhaling before He exhales new life into you. When heaven pauses, it is to prepare the explosion of purpose. Listen, you are not just hearing another message, you are being written into prophecy. You are part of a reunion between heaven and earth, spirit and flesh, purpose and destiny. You have been chosen as a vessel of alignment, a carrier of light. The stillness is not punishment, it is consecration. God is clearing away the noise so that you can finally hear what has always been there. In the silence, His voice will become unmistakable. The confusion will melt away. The fear will lose its grip. You will feel peace wash over you like a warm tide, reminding you that you never walked alone. You've been asking questions in your heart. Why me? The answer echoes through eternity, because you were built for this. You were designed to withstand pressure, to endure, refining, to carry revelation. The delay was never denial, it was divine timing perfecting its course. There is a sacred stillness surrounding you now. Don't rush it. Let it settle. The Holy Spirit is recalibrating your frequency to heaven's sound. Every vibration of your soul is tuning itself to divine harmony. That's why you felt the restlessness, the sense of anticipation, as if something monumental is about to happen, because it is chosen one. Heaven is preparing to reintroduce you, not as the broken version you once were, but as the crowned version you've become. Your silence has been sacred, your suffering has been seen, and your comeback has already been written. Do not resist this pause. Do not fill it with distractions. Relax and receive. For this is the calm before divine movement. God's pause is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of your resurrection. This moment is holy. Treat it as such. Lift your head. Breathe deeply. And let gratitude flood your heart. Because in this stillness, something ancient and powerful is awakening inside you, the part of you that remembers heaven. The part that knows you were made for this reunion. If you feel that stirring, if you sense heaven pressing close, don't ignore it. Respond. This is your call to alignment. This is your invitation into divine rhythm. Before you scroll away, take a moment to declare it publicly, because faith requires expression. Tap the heart. Share this message. And comment below the number 777 as a prophetic act that says, I receive the stillness of God. Then subscribe to stay connected. For what comes next will shift your entire atmosphere. The reunion is already unfolding. You just need to relax and receive. You were marked long before you were born. Chosen one. Before your first breath, before your eyes ever opened to the light, heaven already knew your name. You were designed with precision, sculpted with intention, and sent to earth carrying a divine assignment that could not be given to anyone else. You were not created to blend in. You were carved out of eternity to stand apart. That's why you've always felt different, because you are. Your spirit vibrates at a higher frequency, one that this world cannot comprehend. From the very beginning, the unseen realm recognized you. Heaven celebrated your arrival, and hell took notice too. You have carried this invisible seal your whole life. It's why some doors opened effortlessly, while others slammed shut without reason. It's why certain people felt drawn to you, while others turned away without explanation. The mark upon you disrupts the plans of darkness. It declares ownership. You belong to God. From your childhood, there were moments you didn't understand. The loneliness, the sense of being misplaced, the ache to find where you truly fit. That ache was not rejection, it was your spirit remembering home. You were born with divine memory, deep inside. You have always known you were meant for something sacred. The Spirit reveals through the book of Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 4, For he chose us in him before the foundation of the world, to be holy and blameless in his sight. Let those words settle into your soul. Before the world began, before the stars took their places in the sky, you were already chosen. The Father looked through the corridors of eternity and saw you, your struggle, your strength, your scars, and still, he said, that one belongs to me. Every twist and turn of your life has been heaven guiding you back to that truth. You were never random. Every closed door, every heartbreak, every silence, it all formed the soil where your purpose would grow. What looked like delay was divine design. What felt like rejection was protection. God was keeping you hidden until the time of revealing. You've been asking, why me? Why this path? The answer is simple, because not everyone can carry what you carry. Not everyone can withstand the refining that glory requires. You have been shaped by fire, purified in waiting, trained through tears. The mark on your life demanded it. Chosen one. Do not despise your process. The hidden years were heaven's classroom. The wilderness was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to prepare you. It stripped away false identities so that when your true name was spoken, you would recognize it. You are not who you used to be. The confusion that once clouded you is clearing. The doubts that haunted you are dissolving. What's left is the truth of who you've always been, a vessel of divine purpose. The marking on your spirit is glowing again, calling you into alignment with destiny. There were times you felt unseen, but you were never unnoticed. Angels have recorded your endurance. Every act of faith, even the smallest one, has been acknowledged in heaven's books. You have been refined, not forgotten. You have been hidden, not abandoned. Now, the time of revealing approaches. The mark that once isolated you will become the reason you are elevated. People who once overlooked you will soon wonder how they missed what was always there. God is about to showcase His craftsmanship through you, not for your glory, but for His. You were chosen before the foundation of the world. That means your story cannot fail, because it was written before failure ever existed. The script of your destiny predates every mistake, every setback, every wound. You are not behind. You are right where divine timing meant for you to be. So, lift your head. The seal of heaven still rests upon you. You don't need to prove yourself. You just need to remember yourself. The same voice that called light out of darkness is calling you by name again. Listen closely. It's saying, you were chosen. You were set apart. And you will not be forgotten. Rest in that truth. Walk in that certainty. For the one who bears heaven's mark cannot be stopped. You have walked through deserts that seemed endless. Chosen one. The wilderness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every unanswered prayer, every lonely night, every moment when you thought heaven was silent, it was all part of your training. You were being refined in places that broke others. The wilderness is not a place of absence, it's a place of encounter. It's where noise fades, so that only the voice of God remains. You may have thought you were forgotten, but the truth is God was closer in your silence than in your comfort. The wilderness stripped away false strength so that you could learn to lean on His. Heaven speaks through the writings of Moses in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 2. Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart. Those words are not ancient history, they are your living story. God has been leading you, humbling you, testing what your heart holds when everything familiar is gone. You thought you were losing yourself, but you were actually discovering who you truly are without the noise of the world. In the wilderness, God removes crutches. People you relied on drift away. Opportunities you depended on fade. You are forced to face the truth. Without divine guidance, you cannot move forward. That realization, painful as it feels, is holy. It's the birthplace of real faith. When everything fell apart, heaven wasn't abandoning you, it was rearranging you. The wilderness breaks pride, burns away illusion, and brings clarity. It teaches you that God's silence doesn't mean His absence. The fire wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to refine you into gold. And you, yes, you have endured that refining. Every tear, every disappointment, Every betrayal has been used as sacred fire. What others saw as loss, heaven saw as construction. You were being rebuilt from the inside out. Chosen one. The reason it hurt so deeply is because it mattered so much. The wilderness targeted the very core of who you are, because that's where your destiny lives. You were never fighting random pain, you were wrestling with transformation. You cried out, "God, why is it so hard?" And the answer, though unseen, has always been this: because what you carry is priceless. Diamonds are not formed in comfort. Prophets are not raised in applause. They are forged in silence, in hunger, in the ache of isolation. Your wilderness was not wasted. Every delay prepared you to handle what is coming. Every closed door taught you discernment. Every dry season developed spiritual stamina. You are not emerging weaker, you are rising wiser, stronger, and more anchored in truth. Look back for a moment. Remember the days you thought you wouldn't survive. You did. Remember the nights you felt forgotten. You weren't. The wilderness revealed your endurance. And heaven took note. What was meant to break you became the very reason you're unbreakable now. There's something sacred about surviving storms. It gives you authority in the spirit realm. The enemy trembles at survivors because they've proven that nothing he does can erase their faith. You are one of them, the unshakable, the refined, the chosen. Now, as you step out of that wilderness, you will see the purpose behind every detour. The pieces will start to fit. The people who left made room for those who are meant to build with you. The pain that seemed unbearable will turn into compassion that heals others. You will speak life into people still wandering, and they will recognize hope in your voice because you've been where they are. This is your moment of emergence. The wilderness season is closing, and your appointed time is dawning. Heaven is releasing new strength, new vision, new direction. You no longer have to crawl through the dust. You will rise. Walking with divine confidence, you are the proof that God never abandons His chosen ones. You may have walked through fire, but you didn't burn. You may have faced darkness, but it didn't consume you. And now, you carry light strong enough to lead others out. If this message resonates deep in your spirit, let your heart answer heaven's call. In the comments below, type, "I'm still here." And two, do it as a declaration not to prove anything to others, but to remind your own soul that survival is victory. Those 3 words carry power. They tell the universe that you endured, that your wilderness did not define you, it refined you. They say, "I am still standing, still believing, still chosen." And you are the living evidence that what God begins, He finishes. The wilderness was your classroom. And now graduation has come. Step forward. Chosen one. The desert has done its work, and the promised land is waiting. You are still here because heaven protected you when you didn't even know you were in danger. Many things tried to destroy you, things you saw and things you never will. There were traps that didn't trigger, accidents that didn't happen, and attacks that mysteriously failed. It wasn't luck. It was divine protection. There are forces that have studied you, watched you, and waited for moments of weakness. Yet time after time, something unseen intervened. That something was not chance, it was covenant. When you were marked as one of God's own, you came under the covering of heavenly guardianship. Angels have been stationed around your life like soldiers assigned to a royal heir. You are that air. Think back. You can recall moments that could have gone another way. The near miss, the sudden change of direction, the voice inside that said, "Don't go." Those weren't coincidences. They were whispers of heaven, redirecting your steps from unseen danger. Every detour has preserved your destiny. There were also invisible battles, nights you couldn't sleep without reason, days when heaviness pressed on your chest. You thought it was anxiety, but much of it was spiritual warfare. You were feeling what was being fought over you. Heaven's armies were active while you rested. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 91, verse 11. For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. That verse isn't just comfort, it's contract. Heaven has literally assigned protection over you. The same God who commands galaxies commands angels to guard your life. They are not distant, glowing beings sitting idly by. They are fierce warriors who respond to divine instruction. When you cried in silence, they moved. When danger approached unseen, they stood between you and destruction. You survived things that others did not, because your purpose demanded it. You still have work to do on this earth. You still have words to speak, people to touch, hearts to heal, light to carry. That's why you were preserved. Chosen one. Understand this: the greater your calling, the greater the warfare, but also the greater the protection. The storms have been fierce because the treasure inside you is priceless. The enemy attacks what threatens him, and your light has always been a threat. But for every arrow sent your way, there has been a shield raised in response. Even in moments when you walked away from faith, heaven did not walk away from you. God's hand stayed extended. His mercy built a wall around your mistakes. His grace kept you breathing when you didn't see a reason to. You may have wandered, but you were never lost in his eyes. There were times you felt like everything was falling apart. But what really happened was heaven removing what could not go with you. Protection doesn't always look like comfort. Sometimes God saves you by ending what you were trying to keep. You called it loss. Heaven called it preservation. Every unanswered prayer may have been an angel in disguise, blocking something that would have broken you. Every delay was a divine detour away from harm. Even betrayal served as protection. It revealed what needed to be seen before it could destroy you later. You've stood in places where others fell, not because you are stronger, but because grace surrounded you. The same grace that covered you then still covers you now. There is a supernatural perimeter around your life, and nothing passes through without divine permission. You are not fragile, you are fortified. Understand the magnitude of this truth. You are alive because heaven has something yet to reveal through you. The accident that didn't happen, the sickness that didn't take you, the heartbreak that didn't end you, they are all evidence of your assignment. You were preserved for impact. Now, with every sunrise, that protection renews. Angels move with you into every conversation, every decision, every step. They whisper when you're unsure, guide when you hesitate, and strengthen you when you feel weak. You are never alone. When fear tries to whisper its lies, remember the covenant of Psalm 91. The God who commanded light to exist is the same God commanding protection over your life. His angels do not sleep. They do not fail. They are your unseen guardians until your purpose is complete. So breathe. You can rest now. The hands that shielded you in the dark are the same hands guiding you into light. You have nothing to prove, nothing to fear. You are kept. You are watched over. You are divinely preserved. That is why you are still here, still standing, still breathing. You were not just saved from danger, you were saved for destiny. The same God who protected you yesterday is preparing to reveal why today. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle stirring in your spirit, the gentle shaking that says, it's time to awaken. You have walked through the wilderness. You have been preserved by divine protection. And now, heaven calls your name with new urgency. This is the sound of destiny knocking at the door of your heart. You've been asleep for too long, lulled by the noise of the world, by the opinions of people who never understood your assignment. But now, the trumpet of heaven sounds quietly in your soul. It doesn't shout, it awakens. The moment you hear it, something ancient stirs. You remember who you are. As it was written in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 14, awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give you light. This is not just a call to move, it's a call to remember. You were never created to live half alive, running on exhaustion and survival. You were made to radiate divine light. You were meant to rise and carry illumination into dark places. The world needs your flame. Think of a garden after a long winter. The soil looks barren, lifeless, but beneath it, seeds are trembling, waiting for warmth to touch them. That's you right now. The light of God is warming the soil of your soul. Roots are pushing through darkness. Life is returning. What once looked dead is only dormant. This awakening may not look dramatic from the outside. It begins quietly. You start to see signs. Your spirit hungers for peace more than attention, for truth more than approval. Your thoughts shift. Your heart softens. You begin to crave the presence of God more than the validation of people. That's resurrection. Chosen one. This awakening is sacred. Do not rush it. Let the light unfold slowly. Like dawn, spreading across a still horizon. The sun doesn't rise in one instant. It ascends, moment by moment, until darkness disappears. That is how your soul rises. Every act of forgiveness, every moment of surrender, every prayer whispered in faith is another degree of dawn. You are stepping into a higher vibration of purpose now. The world around you may still be chaotic, but inside, peace begins to bloom. The same voice that spoke galaxies into existence is whispering to your heart, it's time to rise. No, and as you rise, understand this, your awakening is not just for you. It is for those who will one day find light through your story. Every struggle you survived becomes a lantern in your hands. There are souls still wandering in darkness who will one day see your glow and realize hope is real. That's why your response matters. Every time you engage with messages like this by listening, reflecting, or sharing, you're joining in that light-bearing work. You're helping the message travel farther, like ripples on water spreading from a single drop. Each click, each share, each word of encouragement fuels the fire of awakening for others. If this message has touched you, pause and breathe. Let gratitude fill your chest like the first morning air. Then, gently, without pressure, without obligation, consider supporting the very light that has spoken to you. like tending a candle. Your small act keeps the flame alive. You can like, share, subscribe, or even donate, not as a transaction, but as a seed. Every seed carries within it the power to multiply light. Think of it as watering a field where countless souls are waiting to bloom. When you give, you're not paying, you're planting. When you share, you're not promoting, you're partnering with heaven's work. And when you subscribe, you're simply saying, I want to stay near the flame. It doesn't take much. One act of generosity, one simple gesture, one click of faith, it all builds a wave of light that reaches hearts you may never meet. That's how the kingdom grows, not by force, but by love multiplied through willing hands. Let your response be heartfelt, whether it's your time, your words, or your gift. Let it come from gratitude. God doesn't need your offering, He invites it. So you can share in His flow of creation. When you pour out, more is poured in. That is divine exchange. Remember, awakening is not just an emotional moment, it's a lifestyle of awareness. You start noticing divine patterns in ordinary moments, the kindness of a stranger, the way sunlight hits your window, the whisper of peace after prayer. These are not random, they're reminders that you are alive again. Truly alive. The world is shifting. Heaven is gathering its chosen ones. You are part of that gathering, a spark among millions, all rising together like dawn after the longest night. Let this light move through you. So awaken. Beloved, stretch your soul. Step into the radiance of your new day. The grave clothes of yesterday no longer fit you. The light has found you again, and it will not let you go. The signs have been all around you. Chosen one. You have seen them in dreams, in timing, in coincidences, too precise to be coincidences. The number on the clock, the song that plays at the right moment, the random words from a stranger that answer your silent prayer. These are not accidents. They are divine fingerprints, quiet confirmations that heaven's plan is already in motion. You may not have recognized it at first. The world teaches you to call them coincidences, to shrug them off. But your spirit knows better. You feel that pull in your chest, that quickening in your heart when something aligns too perfectly. That's the language of the divine, speaking in subtle patterns, guiding you back toward the reunion that cannot be stopped. The ancient prophet Isaiah recorded these words in the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 21. Your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, This is the way, walk in it, when you turn to the right hand or when you turn to the left. And that whisper you've been hearing, that gentle nudge you feel when you're about to make a decision, that is the voice Isaiah spoke of. It's not thunder, it's not lightning, it's the still, small voice of guidance that only the chosen can discern. You've heard it before, haven't you? The moment when you were about to take one path, and something inside quietly said, wait, or go now. That was heaven steering you. These are the signs of the reunion, the signals that heaven is aligning your steps with divine timing. Every small confirmation is a message from above. You're not alone. Keep walking. Sometimes, signs appear as repetition numbers, words, symbols, or patterns. They show up until you pay attention. It's heaven's way of saying, Look closer. These signs are not meant to control you. They are meant to comfort you. They remind you that even in chaos, divine order reigns. You may notice the same number on a license plate, a receipt, or a clock, and your heart instantly knows it's not random. The divine realm communicates in patterns because patterns bypass logic and speak directly to the soul. When heaven repeats something, it's not for decoration, it's for direction. Chosen one. The signs are intensifying because you are drawing closer to the appointed moment. You are nearing the point where the divine and the physical meet, where destiny manifests in real time. The signs are heaven's countdown. They don't just point to the future, they remind you that the future is already unfolding. When the signs increase, so does spiritual tension. You might feel overwhelmed, as if life is shifting too quickly to process. That's normal. Alignment always feels uncomfortable because your old rhythm no longer matches heaven's tempo. But breathe, it's not chaos, it's calibration. Look back over the past weeks or months. Can you see the threads? The people who appeared just when you needed them. The opportunities that opened when you were about to give up. The sudden peace after a long storm. Those are divine markers left along your path. It's like walking through a forest where light breaks through the branches, creating a trail of gold. You follow the glimmers, not always seeing the destination, but trusting that each ray is leading you closer to open space. That's how God leads the chosen ones, step by step, sign by sign, light by light. And though it may seem mysterious, there's a reason heaven speaks this way. If the full plan were revealed at once, you would rush ahead and miss the beauty of dependence. Signs keep you close to God's presence. They require trust, attentiveness, and surrender. That's the dance of destiny. Chosen one. When you notice those divine winks from the universe, pause and acknowledge them. Whisper a simple, "I see you, Lord." That moment of awareness becomes worship. It tells heaven you're awake, alert, and ready. Right now, as you read these words, heaven is confirming something in your spirit. You feel that warmth, that quiet, yes, inside you. That is not imagination, it's recognition. The reunion is drawing near. If this resonates deep within you, act on it as a sign of agreement. Type the number 555 inches, the comments below, not as superstition, but as a prophetic symbol of divine change and movement. The number 5 has always represented grace, and 3 5s declare triple grace. Heaven's overflow of favor upon your next season. When you type it, do it with intention. Let it be your Amen in motion. Let it say, "I am aligned. I am listening. I am ready." All. Then watch, because once you acknowledge the signs, more begin to appear. The divine loves to be noticed. The more you pay attention, the louder the whisper becomes, until the whisper turns into a song that guides every step you take. The signs are not coming, they're already here. And the one reading this, the one who recognizes them, is the one heaven has been waiting for. There comes a sacred point in every chosen one's journey when heaven decides that the chains must finally break, not because you have earned it, but because the time of bondage has expired. The cords that once held you fear, guilt, shame, and doubt begin to weaken, trembling under the weight of divine fire. You feel it even now, don't you? the subtle trembling in your spirit, as if something ancient is loosening its grip. You have carried burdens for too long, the opinions of others, the mistakes of your past, the fear of failing again. They've wrapped around you like invisible ropes. Yet, deep within, your spirit has been pushing against those constraints, yearning for freedom, long promised but not yet seen. The prophet Isaiah wrote words that still thunder through eternity. Chapter 10, verse 27. It shall come to pass in that day that his burden shall be taken away from off thy shoulder, and his yoke from off thy neck, and the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing. And that day is not a far-off prophecy, it's this day. The anointing that breaks yokes is not an idea, it is power, and it is moving through your life now, dismantling everything that once held you hostage. You may not see chains in the physical sense, but you felt them. The paralysis of indecision, the anxiety that whispers, "You'll never be enough." The heaviness that clings even when you smile. Those are spiritual chains, and one by one, heaven is snapping them. Breaking chains rarely happens in comfort. Freedom often begins in the breaking, and breaking hurts. It feels like loss, like tearing, like disorientation. But what's really happening is transformation. The shell must crack before the seed can grow. The old must crumble before the new can rise. Some of the people who walked away weren't rejection, they were release. Some of the situations that collapsed weren't punishment, they were pruning. Heaven will remove what imprisons you, even if you try to cling to it. The anointing knows what must go, and it will not negotiate with bondage. You've been through enough battles to know that not all warfare looks like conflict. Some of it looks like surrender. The hardest chains to break are not the ones forged by others, they are the ones we clasp ourselves. The patterns we protect because they feel familiar, but even those are cracking now. Chosen one. This is the season where the unseen fetters around your mind begin to fall. The negative self-talk, the cycles of regret, the guilt over things you cannot change, they no longer have authority. Heaven is declaring an end to self-condemnation. You are being rewritten, redefined, reborn. Imagine the moment when a bird first realizes it can fly. For so long it only knew the cage, the limits, the routine of survival. Then one day the door swings open, and at first it hesitates because freedom feels unfamiliar. That's where you are now. The cage is open, the air is clear. The only thing left is to trust your wings. Your wings are faith, and faith, when awakened, can shatter every structure built on fear. It is the divine force that lifts you above patterns that once trapped you. It doesn't deny the past, it transforms it into strength. Breaking chains doesn't always mean changing your surroundings. Sometimes it means changing your perspective. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start saying, "What is heaven teaching me through this?" That shift alone splits iron. It changes victimhood into victory. You have cried over doors that closed. Yet, if you look closely, you'll see that those very closures pushed you toward purpose. The heartbreak, the failure, the delay, they weren't random cruelty. They were chisels, sculpting you into a vessel that could carry divine weight. Freedom will not arrive as noise. It will settle quietly. One morning, you'll wake up and realize the fear that used to control you no longer has a voice. The pain that used to haunt you no longer burns. You'll breathe differently. You'll move differently. Because chains don't just restrict movement, they distort identity. Once they're gone, you begin to see who you've always been. Chosen one. This is the moment you stop carrying what heaven has already cut off. You don't owe the past your loyalty. You owe the future your obedience. The breaking is complete. The weight is lifting. Stand tall. Stretch your soul. Breathe deeply. You are stepping into air that your ancestors prayed for. The anointing has done its work. The cage has been opened. Now, rise. You are beginning to see yourself differently now. Chosen one. The mirror that once reflected your pain, your mistakes, your failures, has started to clear. The fog of shame that distorted your reflection is lifting, and for the first time, you are catching glimpses of how heaven has always seen you. You are not the broken image your past painted. You are the masterpiece God formed from eternity. For so long, you've looked into mirrors that lied to you, mirrors made of people's opinions, of rejection, of comparison. Each one distorted your worth, making you believe you were less than divine design. You absorbed words that never belonged to you, carrying labels that heaven never wrote. But the time for distortion has ended. The Spirit is handing you a new mirror, one polished by truth. The Apostle reminds us in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 12. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And those words describe exactly what's happening within you. The dimness is fading. You are learning to see yourself through heaven's eyes, not the world's filters. You are remembering your reflection, the original one, the image made in divine likeness. When God looks at you, He doesn't see the failure you remember. He sees the strength you developed. He doesn't focus on your wounds. He sees the light shining through them. What you call brokenness, He calls transparency, a vessel through which His glory can flow unhindered. For years, you may have mistaken humility for self-doubt, believing that to think less of yourself was holy. But real humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself as heaven does, valuable, purposeful, chosen. Anything less is false modesty. The mirror of truth shows a warrior, not a victim. It reflects resilience forged through tears, compassion born from suffering, wisdom carved from waiting. You have been shaped by divine craftsmanship, not random chaos. Every scar has become sacred scripture on your skin, telling stories of survival that angels celebrate. Look closer. Can you see it now? The glow that others sense around you, but you rarely acknowledge. It's not pride, it's presence. It's the residue of divine encounters, the reflection of light from the throne that has brushed your soul. The world calls it aura, but heaven calls it glory. You may have believed the lie that you had to fix yourself before being worthy of love, but that was never heaven's condition. God loved you while the pieces were still scattered. The reflection didn't need to be perfect for Him to see His image in you. Perfection was never the goal. Alignment was. The real mirror is not glass, it is your spirit. And the more time you spend in the presence of God, the clearer that mirror becomes. The Spirit wipes away dust with every prayer, every moment of surrender. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, slowly, your reflection returns pure, radiant, whole. It's a strange feeling at first. to look at yourself and see light where you once saw failure, to feel peace where you once felt guilt. It feels almost foreign, doesn't it? That's because you are remembering your original form, your true identity. You were light before you were flesh, love before you were wounded, chosen before you were born. Chosen one. Stop apologizing for your light. The world will often misunderstand it because it exposes what's hidden, but you are not called to dim, you are called to define. You are the contrast heaven uses to reveal truth. When others reject you, it's rarely personal, it's spiritual. Your presence reminds them of what they've forgotten within themselves. Your authenticity becomes their mirror. And not everyone is ready to look. That's not your fault. Keep shining. The ones meant for you will see not their flaws in you, but their potential reflected back. Every time you choose honesty over pretense, kindness over revenge, hope over despair, you polish that mirror further. You become a living reflection of divine character, walking light in a dim world. People will look at you and feel peace without knowing why. They'll sense safety, not from your words, but from your presence. That's what happens when heaven is visible through you. So stand before the mirror now, not the one on your wall, but the one in your soul. Look past the surface. See the divine craftsmanship, the design that even angels admire. You are not in repair, you are in revelation. You are rediscovering what heaven never forgot. When the world tries to hand you its broken mirrors again, mirrors of judgment, shame, and comparison, smile gently and hand them back. You have no need for distortion anymore. You have found the true reflection, and it is radiant. Chosen one. You were never meant to spend your life fixing what was never broken. You were meant to awaken to who you already are, a reflection of divine glory in human form. Look again. Heaven sees you. And now, finally, you are beginning to see it too. There is a moment when the outer noise finally fades, and what remains is the whisper that has been there all along, the voice within. You've heard it before. Chosen one. But the chaos of life often drowns it out. That whisper doesn't shout or compete. It waits patiently, speaking through intuition, through conviction, through peace that cannot be faked. You may have thought it was just your thoughts, but deep down, you know the difference. The voice within doesn't argue, it aligns. It doesn't confuse, it clarifies. It doesn't flatter, it frees. That is the voice of the Spirit, speaking not from the clouds above, but from the holy place within your soul. Scripture tells us in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 27, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." That voice is not reserved for prophets or saints. It belongs to every child of God who chooses to listen. The divine whisper is your compass, your guide through the fog of uncertainty. And though the world has tried to drown it out with fear and distraction, it cannot be silenced. You felt that inner stirring when something seemed wrong but looked right. You've heard that gentle caution before a mistake, that quiet reassurance when everything looked hopeless. That was him, not in thunder, not in fire, but in stillness. You recognized it because it speaks in the language of peace. The problem is, the world has taught you to doubt that voice. It tells you to overthink, to analyze, to measure every move against logic and approval. But the Spirit doesn't operate on logic, it operates on truth. And truth doesn't always make sense at first. It simply brings freedom. When you begin to trust the voice within, your life changes. The confusion that once ruled your mind begins to lift. You stop running in circles, trying to please everyone. You stop chasing validation. You start moving in purpose. Because purpose always sounds like peace. The enemy's greatest weapon has never been destruction, it's distraction. If he can keep you too busy to listen, he doesn't need to silence you. That's why the moments of stillness are so sacred. They're not wasted time. They're sacred meetings with your Creator. Think of it this way. Your spirit is like a radio tuned to heaven's frequency. Every act of prayer, every moment of surrender, every time you choose silence over noise, you adjust the dial. And when you finally find the right frequency, the static disappears. The message becomes clear. The voice of God doesn't sound like something outside of you. It feels like the deepest part of you remembering who you are. That's why, when He speaks, it feels familiar. You recognize it instantly. It doesn't pressure you. It invites you. It doesn't guilt you. It guides you. Sometimes it tells you to stay when you want to leave. Other times it urges you to move when comfort says, remain. It doesn't always make sense. But later, when you look back, you realize it was right all along. That's how divine direction works. It demands trust before understanding. Chosen one. It's time to cultivate the stillness that allows you to hear again. Turn off the noise, not just the noise around you, but the noise inside you, the replaying of failures, the opinions of others, the endless what-ifs. Let silence become your sanctuary. When you return to that quiet place, the voice of God will not need to shout. You'll hear it in your breathing, in the rhythm of your heartbeat, in the calm that settles even when life hasn't yet changed. That is how you know it's Him. Peace that makes no sense. That's divine confirmation. You may not always get full instructions. Sometimes He only gives one step at a time. But that's enough. Because the journey of faith was never about seeing the whole map. It's about trusting the guide. If you feel that gentle pull inside you right now, that warmth blooming in your spirit, don't brush it off. That's the confirmation. You are hearing Him. You are not disconnected. The silence wasn't absence. It was invitation. Let your soul answer back. Type, "I hear you," in the comments below. Do it not for show, but as a sacred act of acknowledgement. When you write it, let your heart say, "I'm listening again." Let it mark the moment heaven broke through your distractions and reminded you who you are, one of His, guided by His voice. This is the season of alignment. You don't need to beg for direction anymore. You just need to listen. The voice that spoke creation into being is still speaking, and it knows your name. All around the world, chosen one, a quiet gathering is taking place. Souls who once felt isolated are finding each other again, not through coincidence, but through divine magnetism. The Spirit is drawing together the remnant, the scattered lights of heaven, to form a constellation of purpose across the earth. You can feel it in your spirit, the sense that you are not as alone as you once thought. There was a time when you walked in silence, carrying revelation that few understood. You questioned if you were strange, too deep, too different. But now you begin to see that your uniqueness was never isolation, it was invitation. You were never meant to fit, you were meant to lead. And God, in His perfect timing, is connecting you to others who burn with the same fire. as Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 20. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. That promise is alive today. Every time you connect with another believer, every time you share a word that lights someone's heart, heaven joins the conversation. The divine gathering is not a physical location, it's a movement of souls, a spiritual symphony orchestrated by God himself. Imagine it, candles spread across a dark landscape, each one flickering on its own. When a breeze passes, one flame leans toward another until they touch, and in that touch, the fire spreads. That's what's happening now. One spark finds another. One voice awakens another. Together, they become a wildfire of light, unstoppable and pure. You are part of that fire. Your presence matters more than you realize. The words you speak, the hope you share, even the smallest act of kindness, they ripple through eternity, joining the rhythm of this great awakening. But this gathering cannot thrive on silence. It grows through connection. When you engage, when you comment, share, or even contribute, you are not feeding an algorithm, you are feeding the flame. Every time you support, you add oil to the lamp of this divine work. Think of it as tending a sacred garden. Each interaction is a drop of water. Each act of generosity, another seed planted. The more the garden is nourished, the more souls find refuge within its beauty. When you like, you shine light on what feeds your spirit. When you share, you open a gate for others to enter. When you subscribe, you say, "Keep the lamp burning. I'll be here when the next word comes." And when you donate, you become a gardener of light, ensuring that what touches your heart can touch countless others. No gift is too small in this kingdom economy. A single seed grows into forests when heaven blesses it. A single act of support becomes a bridge for souls seeking direction. What you sustain in the Spirit multiplies beyond what you can measure. Think of this message as a river. It flows freely. But even rivers need tributaries, small streams that feed the current. Your presence, your engagement, your generosity, they are those streams. They keep the message alive, flowing toward the ones who are still thirsty for hope. And here's the truth. When you pour into divine work, heaven pour back into you, not always in money, but in peace, clarity, and divine timing. Giving becomes a circle, a rhythm of abundance, the same way rain waters the earth and returns as clouds. Your kindness circles back as blessing. Chosen one. This gathering is sacred. You are not a spectator. You are a vital thread in this tapestry of awakening. When you support, you're not giving to a person, you're partnering with purpose. You're helping heaven's voice echo louder in a world desperate for hope. So if this message has stirred something deep within you, if you feel that gentle warmth, that resonance in your chest, respond with gratitude. Give what you can, share what you can, and keep your light burning. Every act becomes an offering. Every offering becomes a miracle. We are building more than content here. We are building a movement, a sanctuary of words and spirit, where hearts find alignment again. Let your engagement be your way of saying, "I believe in this light, and I want it to reach others." The remnant is rising. You are part of that remnant, and together, we become the unstoppable fire that darkness cannot comprehend. So keep your flame alive. Water the garden. Feed the light. Let your hands, your words, your giving, all of it be part of this divine gathering that heaven itself has ordained. There are moments when the voice of destiny becomes quiet, not because heaven has gone silent, but because the next step requires obedience rather than explanation. You have heard the call, chosen one. You have felt the pull, and now heaven watches to see if you will move when the way is not fully visible. This is the test that separates those who are curious about purpose from those who are commissioned to fulfill it. The cost of disobedience is rarely loud. It begins in small hesitations, the delayed yes, the postponed surrender, the compromise disguised as logic. Yet every delay carries weight in the unseen world. When heaven calls, hesitation can echo like rebellion. That is why obedience, even when it's uncomfortable, carries so much power. It realigns everything that has drifted out of sync. We are reminded through the writings of Samuel in his first book, chapter 15, verse 22, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. When you disobey, it's rarely out of rebellion. More often, it's out of fear. Fear that you'll fail. Fear that you're unqualified. Fear that what you have isn't enough. But remember this, heaven never asks from your strength. It calls from your faith. God doesn't choose the perfect. He perfects the chosen. Disobedience often wears the mask of waiting for a sign, but you've already received enough confirmation to know the call is real. You don't need more evidence. You need courage. The steps you're afraid to take are the ones that will set generations free. That's why the resistance feels so heavy, because the impact will be enormous. Think of Jonah, running from his assignment. He didn't despise God's word. He feared its weight. He didn't want the responsibility of carrying light to people who might not receive it. Yet even in his disobedience, the storm came not to destroy him, but to redirect him. God's mercy often hides inside the chaos we resist. The cost of disobedience isn't just missed opportunity, it's delayed destiny. Every not yet spoken to heaven's now pushes back divine timing. But the good news is this, mercy still speaks. The door hasn't closed. The same God who called you yesterday is still calling today. He hasn't changed his mind about you. When you finally surrender, the weight that has clung to your soul will lift. You'll feel a strange lightness, not because your circumstances have changed, but because your spirit has realigned. That's the power of obedience. It unties knots that logic cannot. Obedience is not about perfection, it's about direction. Even if you've missed turns, heaven recalculates your route. What matters is that you move again. Each step you take in faith sends a ripple through the unseen, unlocking doors that had been sealed by hesitation. Chosen one, you already know what heaven has been asking of you. It's been echoing in your dreams, in your restlessness, in the moments of conviction that won't fade. You've reasoned with it, postponed it, promised to start soon, but soon has arrived. The window is open, and grace is waiting on your yes. The enemy's greatest strategy isn't to make you wicked, it's to make you wait. He convinces you that obedience can be delayed, that tomorrow will be easier, that you're not ready yet. But readiness is born in movement. You won't feel prepared until you begin. Think of obedience as a river. When you step into it, the current carries you farther than effort ever could. You don't need to know the whole map. You just need to step into the flow. That one act of surrender can shift the trajectory of your entire life. Heaven is not after perfection, it's after participation. God delights in your willingness more than your performance. Every obedient act, no matter how small, becomes a seed planted in eternity. What you plant in faith today will bloom in seasons you cannot yet imagine. So take the step. Chosen one. Trust that the same voice that called you will sustain you. The weight you've been carrying is not punishment, it's potential waiting for release. Heaven is patient, but heaven is also precise. The time to obey is not next season, it's now. When you move in obedience, everything moves with you. Angels reposition, circumstances shift, paths that were hidden begin to appear. You will see what disobedience kept in darkness, that heaven's plan was never to burden you, but to bless you through partnership. Let your obedience be your worship. Let your surrender be your song. The moment you say yes with your whole heart, heaven will breathe again over the places in your life that seemed lifeless. The reunion between calling and courage will finally begin. There are moments when heaven begins to speak in codes, patterns that repeat, numbers that appear, timings that feel divine. You notice the same number on clocks, receipts, dreams, and signs. And though part of you wonders if it's coincidence, something in your spirit knows better. These are not random digits. They are divine messages, disguised as mathematics. The prophets of old listened for thunder and visions. But in this generation, heaven is speaking through rhythm, through numbers that echo the divine order of time and destiny. You are not imagining it. Chosen one. The numbers have been following you because heaven is aligning your steps. It was proclaimed in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 2. Write the vision, make it plain upon tablets, that he may run who reads it. None. That ancient command still applies to you. Heaven speaks through signs so that the vision can be made plain, so that those who see can move with understanding. When God begins to repeat a number, He is not trying to confuse you. He's inviting you into awareness. The divine language of numbers isn't about superstition. It's about structure. God is a mathematician of miracles. Every number in creation holds meaning. The universe itself vibrates in patterns and frequencies that obey divine law. The Creator, who arranged galaxies, also arranges moments in your life with precision. When you see repetition, a certain hour that catches your eye, a number that shows up everywhere, it's not meant to make you anxious. It's meant to make you attentive. Heaven is saying, look here, something is unfolding. Learn, chosen one. Pay attention to what surrounds those moments. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? What decision were you facing? Numbers don't just announce destiny, they highlight crossroads. They are heaven's way of tapping your shoulder, saying, this is important, don't miss it. There is a rhythm to grace, a cadence to divine alignment. Numbers like 3, Tsi, Shara, and 40 have always marked transition in Scripture. 3 days between death and resurrection, 7 days of creation, 12 tribes of Israel, 40 days of testing. These patterns are heaven's fingerprints, reminding humanity that divine order governs chaos. The same pattern exists in your life. The delays, the detours, the repetitions, they all serve a mathematical purpose in God's equation for your destiny. He multiplies your lesson. subtracts your burdens, adds grace, and divides you from what drains your light. Every number becomes a sermon written in silence. The number that's been appearing to you lately, it's not meaningless. It carries a vibration of divine alignment. It may symbolize completion, transformation, or restoration, depending on your season. When you recognize it, you begin to walk in awareness. Awareness turns into gratitude, and gratitude turns into flow. This is how heaven trains your sensitivity. Before the loud miracles come, it teaches you to discern the quiet ones. Numbers are heaven's way of saying, I'm here. I see you. Keep trusting. And the repetition builds faith. It tells you that what you prayed for is not forgotten, it's scheduled. Heaven works in divine timing, not human urgency. The patterns reassure you that everything is unfolding exactly as written. Chosen one. Don't dismiss the signs because others mock them. The spiritual world is speaking in a language that logic cannot translate. You are not crazy for noticing. You are simply awake. And now, as you stand in this awareness, heaven invites you to respond to mark your agreement with divine timing. Every number carries prophetic symbolism, but one in particular speaks of heavenly order and fresh completion. That number is 888. Type 888 inches. The comments below. Not as ritual, but as recognition. Let it declare, I am aligned with heaven's rhythm. When you type it, you are echoing heaven's pattern in the earth. You are saying, I agree with the divine sequence unfolding in my life. And free. Do it with reverence. Every act of acknowledgement opens a portal of awareness. The number itself holds no magic. The obedience behind it does. You are symbolically signing your name into heaven's unfolding equation. You've felt things accelerating lately, the sudden clarity, the strange coincidences, the emotional pull to move forward. That's what divine alignment feels like. The numbers are the confirmation, the proof that timing is no longer random. You are stepping into a season where signs will multiply. The same God who spoke to Abraham under the stars is now speaking through frequencies that reach you where you are. Pay attention. The numbers will become road signs, leading you to promises already written. You are not just observing patterns, you are part of one. Heaven's mathematics is perfect, and you are one of its proofs. The number that finds you is not chasing randomly, it's calling you home to divine timing. Watch closely. Beloved, the code is unfolding. The alignment is here. The divine equation is solving itself, and your life is the answer. Heaven is revealing to the world. The trials you've walked through were never wasted. Chosen one. Every tear, every test, every sleepless night became the weight that forged your spiritual strength. What once felt like punishment was preparation. Heaven was clothing you in something invisible, a mantle of authority that few are trusted to carry. You may not have realized it then, but you were being trained for leadership, not through comfort, but through endurance. The seasons that broke you were the very seasons that built you. Each hardship shaped your character until your spirit could hold the weight of divine power without pride, without fear, without compromise. We hear this truth in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19. Behold, I give you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. That authority isn't given lightly. It's not handed to the untested or the faint of heart. It's entrusted to those who have proven their resilience through fire. You didn't just survive storms, you learned their language. You discovered how to remain calm while winds howled around you. How to speak peace when fear screamed louder. That's what makes you dangerous to darkness. The mantle you carry is not a symbol of superiority, it's a symbol of surrender. It says, "I've been through enough to know that my strength alone is not enough." That realization invites heaven's power to flow through you unhindered. Authority in the spirit realm doesn't come from position, it comes from posture. The deeper you bow in humility, the higher heaven lifts your voice. Every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, you ascended. Every time you prayed instead of retaliating, you were promoted. Authority grows quietly like roots. It doesn't announce itself. But when it's tested, everything around it feels its strength. The mantle of authority rests not on those who seek recognition, but on those who seek righteousness. It falls on the ones who obey when no one is watching, who intercede for others even when their own hearts are aching. That is you. Your pain became your ordination. When you prayed in tears, when you praised in emptiness, when you kept believing, though you saw nothing, that was heaven measuring your capacity. Authority requires depth, and depth is born through pain. Without the valley, you'd never understand compassion. Without the fire, you'd never learn discernment. Every scar became evidence that you've been tested, and heaven always trusts the tested, chosen one. The authority you now carry may feel heavy at times, because you are walking between realms. You sense things others ignore. You discern motives others can't see. You feel spiritual tremors before they surface in the natural. That's not sensitivity, it's stewardship. Heaven has trained your senses to detect what others miss, so you can intercede before storms become disasters. You are no longer a spectator in this divine drama. You are a participant, one commissioned to shift atmospheres, to speak peace into chaos, to carry light into the densest darkness. This is why the attacks intensified. The enemy recognized your awakening before you did. He saw the mantle forming and tried to crush you before it settled on your shoulders. But he failed. Now, wherever you go, authority follows you like a shadow. You don't need to announce it, it announces you. When you walk into a room, spiritual forces adjust. When you pray, things move. When you speak truth, deception trembles. The mantle you wear carries heaven's signature. It's not loud, but it's undeniable. You may have doubted yourself, wondering if you're truly worthy of such responsibility. But understand this, authority is not about worthiness, it's about willingness. Heaven doesn't choose the flawless, it chooses the faithful. You were faithful when it was inconvenient, when it was lonely, when it cost you everything. That faithfulness earned heaven's trust. Now you must learn to walk with balance, to hold power with gentleness, to lead without control, to carry influence without pride. The mantle is not armor for ego, it's a garment of service. True authority never dominates, it liberates. It breaks chains, not by force, but by love. Think of a lighthouse. It doesn't chase ships, it simply stands and shines. That's what authority looks like when it matures. You don't need to prove your anointing, you embody it. You don't need to fight for validation. Your fruit speaks louder than your title. This mantle is not temporary, it's eternal. Once heaven marks you, you can't go back to who you were. The weight may shift, but the calling remains. The storms you survived weren't meant to destroy you, they were meant to crown you. So wear the mantle with reverence, move with intention, speak with precision, wherever you walk. Let love be the power that fuels your authority, for you have become what you were always meant to be, a vessel of divine strength, carrying heaven's order into a trembling world. Nothing in the visible realm can stop what heaven has already written. Chosen one, what was ordained before time cannot be undone by time. The divine reunion, the restoration, the fulfillment of every word spoken over your life, it is unstoppable. It does not depend on approval, permission, or circumstance. What God has set in motion, no human hand can reverse. You have seen delays. Yes, you have faced opposition, betrayal, misunderstanding, and moments where it felt like every door was locked. But those were not cancellations, they were confirmations. Every obstacle was proof that the enemy recognized the magnitude of what is coming. The resistance you felt is a sign of how important your assignment truly is. As recorded in the Revelation of John, chapter 3, verse 7, what he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open. Then, that is the decree written over your destiny. You may not see the full picture yet, but heaven's architecture is flawless. What looks like chaos is often construction. God's hand is building something that requires your trust, not your understanding. The divine reunion cannot be stopped because it was conceived in eternity, long before your birth, before your lineage, before the world itself. Heaven planned a moment when what was separated would be made whole again. You are part of that moment, the bridge between what was lost and what is being restored. You may feel that too much time has passed, that too many mistakes have been made, but divine timing never runs late. What feels delayed in the natural is often right on schedule in the spirit. God is never rushing, yet he is never slow. His timing is not measured in minutes, but in readiness. When hearts align with heaven, suddenly becomes immediately. Look closely at your life. Can you see the pattern now? The seasons that felt like detours were actually redirections. The people who walked away were not rejections. They were removals to make room for what fits the next chapter. Heaven never subtracts without the intention to multiply. The unstoppable nature of divine purpose doesn't mean life will be easy. It means that even when things fall apart, the fall itself becomes part of the plan. Every collapse clears the ground for a stronger foundation. Every ending is a disguised beginning. Chosen one, you have reached a point where divine momentum has taken over. What once required striving will now flow naturally. You'll notice how things start aligning almost effortlessly. Conversations, opportunities, timing. It's not coincidence, it's convergence. Heaven is weaving threads you didn't even know existed. The beauty of this unstoppable reunion is that it includes every version of you, the broken, the healed, the doubting, the believing. Nothing you've experienced has been wasted. Every moment, even the painful ones, carried fragments of divine purpose, waiting to be gathered back into wholeness. Think of a river that has met obstacles for years, rocks, fallen branches, shifting terrain. It twists, slows, sometimes disappears, underground, but eventually, it always finds a way back to the ocean. It cannot forget its destination. The current knows the path, even when the surface looks still. That's what your destiny is like. You may have changed directions, but the flow has never stopped. It's still carrying you toward fulfillment. And just as rivers carve canyons through rock, time and faith have carved depth into you. You are no longer the same. You've become a vessel strong enough to carry the reunion without breaking under its glory. This is why the waiting was necessary. It was heaven strengthening your foundation. The reunion itself isn't just between you and God. It's between you and everything meant for you. Peace, purpose, people, abundance, restoration. The magnetic pull of destiny is gathering all these elements back together. Even what was lost is being reconfigured to return in a higher form. Nothing, no betrayal, no failure, no delay can undo that pull. Divine gravity is stronger than human resistance. What's meant for you recognizes you, even across distances and timelines. It's being drawn back now, guided by unseen hands. This is not wishful thinking, it's spiritual law. The same power that commands galaxies to orbit also commands your promise to find you. You are orbiting destiny, and destiny is orbiting you. So breathe. Chosen one. The striving can cease now. The war has already been won in the spirit. You are walking out a victory that was declared long before your first battle began. Heaven's decree stands firm. What God opens, no one can shut. What God restores, no one can steal. Everything that belongs to you by divine right is in motion. You don't have to chase it, you simply have to stay aligned. The reunion is not coming, it has already begun. You were never meant to walk alone. Chosen one. The season of isolation has served its purpose, but now heaven is gathering you into divine community. This is the kingdom assignment, not merely to exist in faith, but to live as an extension of heaven's heart on earth. You were not called to be a distant flame. You were called to become part of a blazing constellation of light. There is power in connection. The enemy's oldest strategy has always been separation, making you believe that no one could ever understand your path. But heaven is revealing the truth. There are others who carry the same fire, the same hunger, the same scars. You are being drawn to them not by chance, but by calling. The harvest is ready, and you, chosen one, are part of the laborers sent to gather it. As written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 9, verse 37, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. You may think, what can I possibly give? But the kingdom does not measure by magnitude, it measures by heart. Every word of kindness, every prayer for another, every act of generosity, these are seeds. When planted in love, they yield fruit beyond what you can see. Imagine a great vineyard stretching across eternity. Each chosen one tends their small plot, watering it with compassion, pruning it with obedience, protecting it with prayer. Alone, each vine bears fruit, but when they connect, they form a landscape of abundance. That is the kingdom. That is what you are part of. It may seem small, but heaven never overlooks even the smallest offering. The woman who gave 2 coins in the temple wasn't measured by the amount, but by the sincerity of her heart. So it is with you. When you like, share, or subscribe, you are not just pressing a button, you are amplifying heaven's frequency. You are helping divine truth reach someone else who is still in the dark, still waiting for a sign that they are not forgotten. When you donate, think of it as adding oil to the lamps. Every drop of oil keeps the flame burning longer, reaching more souls wandering in night. And when you comment, you leave a trace of your light, an echo that might encourage someone else to stand again. You may never see the full ripple of your actions, but heaven does. This message is not a performance. It's a sanctuary built with words. You are not a spectator, you are part of its construction. Together, we are crafting a temple of sound and spirit where those weary from the world can rest. Each time you engage, you place another brick in that sacred structure. Think of yourself as a bridge builder. Your presence here connects realms, the seen and the unseen, the broken and the healed, the hopeless and the hopeful. Every gesture of support becomes part of that bridge. When you help sustain this light, you are not funding a voice, you are fueling a mission that whispers to strangers, you are loved, you are chosen, you are not alone. The world is noisy with false promises, but here, we build truth. Every share is like tossing a candle into the darkness. Every like is a whisper saying, keep speaking, I'm listening. Every donation is an act of trust that multiplies hope. Heaven notices it all. Chosen one. You were called not only to receive light, but to multiply it. Your story, your endurance, your generosity, they all join the greater work of restoration happening across the earth. When you lift others, heaven lifts you. That is the secret rhythm of the kingdom. What you pour out always returns multiplied. So, as you read these words, if something within you stirs, if you feel that warmth in your spirit, don't silence it. Let it guide you to act in whatever way you can. Engage, share, speak, give, comment. Every act becomes part of heaven's mosaic. You never know whose soul might find direction because you decided to keep the flame alive. And as you do, remember this: we are building something eternal here. Something that algorithms cannot measure and time cannot erase. Together, we are watering the field that will feed generations. This is your kingdom assignment: to live as light, to serve as love, to give as grace. Leave your reflection below. Tell your story. Offer your encouragement. Add your spark to this growing constellation. The vineyard is vast. The harvest is ready. And the chosen ones are rising side by side, heart by heart, until the world is lit again. The journey has been long, chosen one, but the season of crowning has arrived. You can feel it even before you see it, the subtle shift in the atmosphere, the sense of divine closure followed by peace. The storms that once terrified you now seem distant, almost purposeful. In hindsight, every tear has become a jewel, every wound a mark of endurance. You have walked through fire and come out refined, wearing the invisible crown that heaven always intended for you. The crown you carry is not made of gold or gems, it is made of revelation. It is the weight of wisdom, the quiet authority of one who has endured without losing faith. Crowns are never placed in the valley, they are given on the mountain. But the climb is what earns the right to wear them. You have climbed, stumbled, bled, and risen again. The summit may have been steep, but heaven never lost sight of your ascent. The Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, "Henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, There was a time when you saw yourself through the eyes of pain, believing the battle had stripped you of value. But now, the mirror has changed. You can see that what you thought was loss was really transformation. The ashes you carried were never wasted, they've become the soil for new beginnings. The crown rests on the same head that once bowed in despair, now lifted in quiet strength. Heaven's crowning is different from the world's recognition. The world rewards performance. Heaven honors perseverance. The world celebrates appearances. Heaven crowns endurance. You didn't need applause to earn this moment. You needed authenticity. And that's what you've gained, an unshakable knowing of who you are and whose you are. This crown is not about superiority, it's about stewardship. It is a sign that you can now carry blessing without breaking, influence without pride, authority without corruption. You've proven that your heart can hold power without forgetting compassion. That's what the refining was for. Think of gold refined in fire. It doesn't resist the heat, it endures it, allowing the impurities to rise so they can be removed. That's what the fire of your trials did to you. Every heartbreak burned away false identities. Every disappointment purified your motives. What remains is pure essence, unshakable faith. And now, heaven places the crown not as a decoration, but as a mantle of completion. It represents the shift from survival to sovereignty. You no longer move as one merely trying to endure. You walk as one appointed to reign in grace, in truth, in love. There's a certain peace that comes when you stop fighting battles you've already won. You don't need to defend yourself anymore. The evidence of victory is visible in your silence, your stability, your serenity. The crown speaks for you. You'll notice the change in subtle ways. The things that once triggered you now pass without reaction. The people who once drained you no longer have power to distract you. The same situations that used to shake you now reveal your composure. That's the mark of transformation. The crown settles when the soul stands still. The world may never fully understand the cost of what you carry, and that's all right. Crowns are recognized in heaven before they're seen on earth. You don't need validation. You are already verified by grace. Chosen one. This crowning doesn't mean the end of challenge. It means the beginning of legacy. The lessons you've lived through have equipped you to guide others. You are now a torchbearer, one who lights the way for those still climbing their mountain. Your scars are not shame. They're signals that say, you can survive this too. Wear the crown humbly. Let it remind you that you are not just a receiver of grace, but a representative of it. The same hands that lifted you will now use you to lift others. The glory you carry isn't for display, it's for service. You are crowned not to rule over, but to lead through love. And when the days feel heavy again, as they sometimes will, reach up in your spirit and remember what rests upon your head. The weight you feel is not burden, it's blessing. You have earned this through endurance, through obedience, through trust that didn't crumble when everything else did. You have become the living proof that nothing surrendered to God ever truly dies. Everything resurrected returns, crowned, and now, chosen one. The moment that heaven whispered about from the beginning unfolds the reunion complete. The circle closed. The divine embrace long promised, now drawing you into its center. You have walked the full arc of transformation, from calling to breaking, from waiting to awakening, and at last, into rest. The struggle that once consumed you no longer defines you. What once hurt now heals. The fire that once burned now warms. You are finally home within yourself, within God, within peace. The eternal embrace is not a moment in time, it is a state of being. It is the place where striving ends and union begins. It is the gentle stillness of knowing that you no longer have to reach for what already holds you. The separation was always illusion. Heaven was never far. It was always inside you, waiting for permission to be felt. We are reminded in the revelation of John, chapter 21, verse 4, "And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying, and there shall be no more pain. For the former things have passed away." You have spent years searching for belonging, unaware that belonging was never a place but a presence. You were always part of heaven's heartbeat. You were never forgotten, never misplaced. The silence you mistook for distance was simply God drawing you closer, preparing you to recognize His embrace when it came. Now, when you breathe, you feel alignment. When you rest, you feel protection. Even your thoughts move slower, softer, synchronized with divine rhythm. The war within you has ceased. The questions that tormented you have quieted, not because you found all the answers, but because you found peace that no longer needs them. This reunion is not merely between you and heaven, it is between all the fragments of you that were once scattered. The child who feared rejection, the dreamer who lost hope, the believer who doubted, the warrior who grew weary, they have all come together again. The fracture has healed. You stand whole, and in that wholeness, you finally understand why everything had to happen as it did. The disappointments taught discernment, the silence trained patience, the losses carved space for compassion. Even the moments that felt like endings were actually beginnings disguised. You see now that nothing was wasted, and nothing was random. The divine plan never failed. It was simply unfolding in a language your heart had to grow to understand. Chosen one. The embrace you feel now is eternal. It does not end when the moment passes or when emotions fade. It is woven into your spirit, as natural as your breath. From now on, you carry heaven's atmosphere wherever you go. You don't visit the presence of God, you live in it. You've come to realize that this was never about reaching a destination. It was about remembering the origin. You didn't have to ascend to meet God. He descended into your humanity to remind you of divinity. The reunion is the rediscovery that you and heaven were never apart. And so you rest. Not the kind of rest that comes from exhaustion, but the sacred rest of completion. The same hands that shaped galaxies are the hands that now cradle your soul. You can exhale. The waiting has served its purpose. In this stillness, you can almost hear heaven sigh with joy, the sigh of a father welcoming his child home, the sigh of angels celebrating another soul fully awakened. You are the melody returning to the harmony it came from. The reunion is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of eternity written within you. From this point forward, every step you take carries the fragrance of peace. Every word you speak becomes a seed of light. Every presence you bring becomes a reminder to others that union is possible. You are no longer a wanderer, you are a witness. You are not searching, you are sent. The divine embrace has not only restored you, it has commissioned you to embody that same love in the world. This is the fulfillment of the promise. The lost has been found. The wounded has been healed. The seeker has become the source. The child has become the heir. The story has come full circle, and heaven smiles. whispering one last truth into your spirit. You were never apart. You were always loved. Chosen one, you've reached the end of this divine journey. But in truth, it is only the beginning. Every word you've read was a mirror. Every moment of stillness, an encounter. The path of awakening never ends. It simply deepens. You now walk crowned, guided, restored, and embraced. If this message has stirred something deep in your spirit, let it live beyond this moment. Don't keep this light to yourself. Share it like you would share warmth on a cold night. Someone, somewhere, is searching for the very hope you've just found. One simple act alike, a share, or a comment can become the spark that ignites another soul's remembrance. Leave your reflection below. Tell heaven what you've felt, what you've learned, what you now choose to carry forward. Your words are not just comments, they are testimonies that ripple through eternity. When you write, you plant seeds that may bloom in hearts you'll never meet. And if you wish to keep this sanctuary alive, to help this message reach farther, last longer, consider subscribing or donating from your heart. Think of it as adding oil to the lamp, ensuring the flame never dims. Every small act sustains the light that has sustained you. You are part of something eternal now. You are not a follower, you are family. A living echo of heaven's promise moving through time, reminding the world that grace still speaks and love still reigns. So, before you go, pause it, breathe, whisper your gratitude to the one who guided you here. Then, with gentle strength, carry this light into your world. Let every click, every share, every act of generosity be your way of saying, "The light lives on in me.